So going into the agenda then, the first session, I'm going to invite Charlotte Jago from CINEA to maybe just set the scene on the workshop and the Blue Skills project cohorts. So Charlotte, the floor is yours if you want to try and share your screen. There you're just muted, Charlotte, there.
Okay, can you see the screen now?
I can. Yep, that's good.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to this workshop on skills. So, I mean, David, you set the scene a little bit already. So it's the second workshop as part of the synergies and clustering between maritime projects that is implemented as part of the EMFF program, which is European Maritime and Fisheries Fund, which run between 2014 and 2020. And the objective of this contract, in fact, it's to evaluate the projects, the EMFF projects, so a big set of projects, 96 projects in total, but also to allow projects to exchange experiences with projects under the thematic but funded by other EU programs. Another objective is to allow EMFF projects to gain visibility and to cluster together. And last objective is also to allow for networking between projects and exchange on good practices regarding synergies, etc. So I'm just gonna very briefly tell you where we are here. It's okay, it's moving. Okay, so basically the European Maritime and Fisheries Fund was implemented between 2014 and 2020. And now for the new programming period, it is the EMFAF. So the change is the aquaculture word that is appearing now under the name of the program. And EMFAF is managed by the executive agency CINEA, which is European Climate, Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency, which manages the fund on behalf of the Commission, on behalf of DG MARE in this case. And so CINEA is managing the new program, EMFAF, but also the contracts and projects that are ongoing under the previous programming period. So here, in that case, we are dealing with a contract from the EMFF, and which is managed by CINEA. So just again, very quickly, for those who do not know, EMFF and EMFAF is a program that is mainly managed by member states. Definitely, you see here the big part in blue is the money managed by the member states, and a small part is managed by the Commission. And this is where we are today. This is the contract is part of this small orange part that is managed by the European Commission and the executive agency. So the EMFF and EMFAF supports the European Common Fisheries Policy, the EU Maritime Policy, and the International Ocean Governance Agenda. You can see here some examples of the policy area that are supported. So maritime spatial planning, maritime surveillance also. But today we're going to speak about skills in particular. There are a number of EMFF projects on skills, and this is the objective of our workshop, to look at them and to allow them to exchange experiences and lessons learned about the implementation of their projects, and also to exchange with other EU funding programs and with Commission officials who will be able to provide some feedback on the projects after their presentation. Okay, so you see here, this is the kind of a landscape of the Blue Carriers project. So basically, we're looking at 18 projects with 11 million EU contribution, with partners from 20 countries, and they address vocational training and higher education. I'm going to give you a little bit more information in a minute. I don't know if you can see this graph very well, but I mean, you will receive the presentation after the workshop anyway. So you see here the distribution of countries that received EMFF funding regarding the skills project. So that is just the population of the skills project. And you see a couple of non-EU countries also have received funding because there was a specific call that requested to have partners from the Western Mediterranean non-EU countries. Okay, so why were Blue Careers calls launched under the EMFF? Well, there were several documents, but here I give the example of the communication from 2014 about innovation in the blue economy, and which highlighted that there was a skills gap in the maritime sectors, that the education offer didn't match the business needs, that there was a lack of cooperation between business, education, and governments. And there were a number of issues to be addressed so that people can be the best and highly skilled in the blue economy. So here you can see there have been 3 calls for proposals under Blue Careers under the EMFF. There has been one in 2016. You see here the main features, one in 2017 and one in 2018. So you can see the first one had 7 proposals, and it was focusing on some sectors, as you can see below: biotechnology, aquaculture, shipping, shipbuilding, tourism. And the amount for those 7 projects was 3.2 million. Under 2017, it was a call dedicated to the Mediterranean and to networks in the Mediterranean of skills organization and training centers. So that's why you see non-EU countries there, Morocco, Tunisia, and I think there is one missing. I think there was also Algeria, but I can correct that later on. And the projects were dealing with aquaculture, fisheries, and also with seafarers. And there was also a specific project addressing nautical charter, nautical tourism. And in 2018, the last call, there were 8 projects representing from 14 EU countries and 2 non-EU countries. And you see here what they were looking at. I'm going to speed up a bit. Voila, so you can see here on top, the 4 first lines, they show what is common, what was common to the 4 first calls for proposals. And below, you can see what were the specificities. So there was an evolution between the 3 calls. The first one was really to test the ground. It was very open in terms of thematics, sectors. Projects could be national or transnational. The second one, as I mentioned, was really focusing on the networking in the Mediterranean. And it was linked to the Western Mediterranean strategy. And the last one in 2018 had the requirement that a minimum 2 member states had to participate. So it had to be transnational. And it was focusing on 3 aspects: entrepreneurial skills, collaboration between industry and education, and skills ecosystem. So here, this is just a list of projects. You will be able to see it in the presentation later on. And today it is the Assess project from the first call who will present a case study. Here I just give the example of the CTBC project. That was one project under 2016, which looked at the concept of hybrid teaching and also creating an apprenticeship digital desk to address the apprentices shortage issue. And the concept of the hybrid teacher in this project is that to keep up with the fast development of technology in the sector, vocational training had to have highly skilled staff to teach the students. And so basically hybrid teaching is about a teacher working half-time in his company and half-time being able to teach. But I'm sure a representative of the project will explain that better to you later on in the networking session, maybe. Okay, so here, this is the list of the second call, and I just give the example of the Deep Blue projects, and the representatives of the project are also here today. So during the networking session, you could talk to them. basically it was a collaboration between maritime education training centers and industry. And they developed training regarding maritime spatial planning, marine sciences, and marine environmental monitoring, for example. That is the list of projects under the last call. And you will hear today about BAPSI, MarEnet, and Sea of Experience. And I close the presentation just with an example, which was the Catching the Potential project about sustainable fisheries training. I will stop here. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will give you the floor back, David, for the next presentation on the policy side.
Thanks very much, Charlotte. Thanks for setting the scene. So if there's any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I think we'll just move straight on into session B, so that's setting the scene. So we have 3 presentations here. The first one is a presentation from DG Employ on skills agenda for Europe. So Felix, you're welcome. And do you want to, are you here?
Yeah.
Yep, great.
Yeah.
You want to try sharing your screen?
I sent the slides, in fact.
All right. You would like us to present, us to share the slides? Okay, no problem.
I make a little bit of light, maybe. I'm dark.
Okay. Here we go. So maybe if you just let us know every time you want to change slide.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the European Skills Agenda was presented by the Commission in 2020. You can already go to the next slide. In the process, this slide shows why we need a skills agenda, but in the process of reacting to the situation and situation of our economy, there was the pandemic. And so we had also to adapt the skills agenda, in fact, to the new situation of the pandemic. But the main reasons for the skills agenda is that, as your projects have also tried to address, a widening skills gap. So our economy becomes more and more complex, technology advances, but the people, they are not in step with this progress because it's fast. In addition to that, we have as we all know, the green and digital transition. And so we simply cannot afford so many low qualified adults. And so that's the challenge for the future. I'm not reading out here the figures, you have seen it. And our political leaders have also reacted to that last year and have set up these EU targets that you see on that slide. Next slide, please. No, there's one missing with the overview on the skills agenda. Yes, thank you. Thanks a lot. So here you have an overview of the structure of the skills agenda. It has 4 building blocks. So joining forces, skilling for a job, tools for lifelong learning, and unlocking investment. And I'm going now, no, maybe first the next slide, and then we go back to this overview, the next slide. So the skills agenda is, of course, not something which is a paper or a strategy in isolation. It is embedded, it reacts to the European Pillar of Social Rights. The first principle, education, training, lifelong learning for all, is a right under this pillar. And the skills agenda responds to this. And it also responds with an action to the European Green Deal. The tasks in jobs change, and jobs become, so to say, greener. Jobs also require more digital skills. So we have actions in the skills agenda that are corresponding also to other European strategies like the European Digital Strategy. Then we have, of course, the European Industrial and SME strategies. So meaning people must be skilled, as I already said, for the changing tasks in their jobs. And there are also completely new job profiles coming up, occupations that did not exist so far. And you have to also react, or rather be proactive on this. If you see it emerging, you can already start to try to define this occupation and try to start to develop training content. And then the European research area, we know that many sectors say that there are not enough people making the choice of becoming engineer or doing mathematics. And there's a relation to having the so-called STEM subjects in school or not having them in school. STEM means science, technology, engineering, and maths. Because there are studies showing that the longer you have that in school, the higher the chance that people then go for a technical field or technical studies, and that is obviously very much needed as well. And the European education area is about lifelong learning, and we have also actions in the skills agenda on lifelong learning to motivate people to learn for their whole life. So now we go back to the overview. Yes, thank you. So there are 12 actions in total. The first action has the particularity, it's an action itself, but it's also a framework for implementing the other actions, or a framework of exploiting the results of the other actions. The Pact for Skills, many of you have, I guess, already heard about it. One of the objectives of the Commission is to have ecosystem-based, so industrial strategy, industrial ecosystem-based, large-scale skills partnerships in each, at least one of such a partnership in each ecosystem. There are 14 of them. We are at 9 big partnerships in ecosystems now, and 2 of them are in offshore renewable energy. I've seen Lucia Fraga from Strain already is participating, and she is in the lead of this partnership in offshore renewable energy. And then we also have a partnership in shipbuilding and maritime technology, so that will be interesting for you. And then we have also the European Alliance for Apprenticeships, which blends into the Pact for Skills. And this Alliance for Apprenticeship has received 366 pledges from organizations offering more than 1 million apprenticeships. So strengthening skills intelligence, there we have the European Agency for Research in Vocational Training, and they have a tool which does the analysis of online vacancies Europe-wide with data crawling and all that. And they will try to update it and to further develop it. They have also lots of data on their skills intelligence homepage and then following websites. We will also work stronger with the public employment services in member states. These also gather skills intelligence. And then with that, I'm at the member states, and there we also cooperate to develop national skill strategies. This is also done in cooperation with the OECD. We have also with member states a working group on adult learning. So adult learning, lifelong learning, also learning as an adult. So I go on then to vocational education and training. The recommendation on that has been passed already in November 2020 to modernize vocational training. Then under this action, we plan also to establish 100 centers of vocational excellence. Those in maritime areas, of course, will of course also teach and train blue skills, that's for sure. We are in the process that we have chosen 11 projects so far, so there will be many more in the coming years. So these selection results for Centers of Vocational Excellence were published in February 22. Under the action European Universities, we are already supporting 41 European universities. There are pilot actions ongoing. What does that mean? What does these European universities do? Well, they cooperate on research, but also on curriculum development. They set up joint masters or joint bachelors. Yeah, for example. Then under this action is also ongoing the development of a competency framework or competence framework for researchers. We have seen, remember the slide where I showed the link of the skills agenda to the other commission strategies. So skills to support the green and digital transitions. We do things like for digital, a self-assessment tool to test your digital skills, a digital competence framework, European Digital Skills Certificate, and then there's also a council recommendation on improving the provision of digital skills in education and training, so a recommendation to member states. And then January of this year, we have published an ESCO taxonomy of green skills. So ESCO is the European Compendium on Competences, Skills and Occupations. So there we try to define green skills by occupation, by sector. Also in January, the Commission has adopted a proposal for a council recommendation on education for environmental sustainability and a related competence framework on sustainability, also called shortly Green Com. And there's also, then we are looking out for core green skills sets for the labor market, and we have an open call for proposals under ERASMUS on that. I mentioned already, we have the objective of increasing the number of STEM graduates. We also want to foster more entrepreneurial and transversal skills. Time is running, so we are, I'm not going into too much detail. Of course, there will be action under Erasmus+, aiming also to increase women's participation in STEM subjects. And we have also a new action plan on social economy that is related to entrepreneurial skills. Yeah, stuff like this. Then skills for life. So this aims of motivating adult people to learn, and not to learn for their job, but also for making learning more holistic, perhaps learning languages. The more you learn, the better you can, so to say, give your input as a citizen. The more you are informed, you make better and responsible political decisions, and your financial decisions can also improve. So these are life skills. You will think of ocean literacy under this subject, I guess. Well, just to name some examples. Then we have the initiative on individual learning accounts. So these are accounts, personal accounts with training entitlements. And with that, we want to motivate people to learn, so that and that they get opportunities for career guidance, and that they learn to steer their career on the labor market. Yeah, and for this, we want to develop these training entitlements. We are exploring this together with the member states. Then complementary to this learning accounts are the micro-credentials. So these are records of small learning experiences, and they are a flexible way to help people to develop knowledge and of course competences, and also to recognize this so that they can carry it, and maybe even over time can put together elements for a qualification, and in the end they only pass the training for competences that they lack. So it's also saving time, and but it also empowers people. Then we have the new Europass platform. This is for every European citizen, self-assessment learning platform, but also guiding people towards training, what is on offer. It offers also the famous Europass curriculum vitae. Under the finance and investment action, we have written to member states, we have given to member states guidance for their national planning for the recovery and resilience national plan. And they have to have, each national plan has to have a chapter on upskilling and reskilling. And we gave member states guidance on this. What could they put in that chapter? And this is then also adapted, of course, to our European policy objectives. It is adapted to actions that can be undertaken in a Pact for Skills partnership. We did the same for the European Social Fund Plus, so the geographical desk, we briefed them on our policy objectives, we briefed them on our instruments like the Pact for Skills, and so that they can see with member states how to integrate that into the operational planning. And then we are also developing a Commission proposal for a corporate sustainability reporting directive, so that large companies also report in their regular, already existing reporting on training and skills development, because this is also an investment, but it's not yet reported, and we want to change that. Yeah, I think I stop here. I was long enough, and yeah, okay, maybe you have questions.
Thank you, Felix. That's an excellent overview of, there's a huge amount going on across various streams. Yeah, I have one question in the chat. Ayanus, do you just want to ask the question, maybe?
Yeah, sure, I could. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So the question goes to Mr. Felix. You mentioned that a very large number of universities, if I heard correctly, is 41, already participate in the actions about skills you presented. Is there any a list of those universities along with the courses and the curricula they have developed to share with us? That would be very useful.
I'm pretty sure that there is a list. I would have to ask for it because I work in DG Employment, and this action is under the lead of DG Education and Culture, and I'm sure that they have the list. So the best thing would be that you take contact with me per email, and then I will bring you in contact with the people in charge in DG Education and Culture, with the unit dealing with it.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other questions? If anyone wants to unmute and ask, if you have any questions, or raise your hand. Felix, I had a question for you. you mentioned this competency framework for researchers. How mature is that, or how has it been adopted yet by institutions, or is it more in a development stage?
As far as I know, it's still at a development stage. Again, it's DG Education and Culture together with DG Research and Development, mainly dealing with that. It's related also to the European education area, and they are the colleagues in DG Education and Culture work on. So there again, I would need to bring you in contact with the right people in DG Education and Culture.
Okay, great. And just one more question. I mean, you're talking here about a huge mobilization around the skills agenda. I think there's 5 billion in Erasmus alone. And it's fantastic to see all these different initiatives. But I suppose from the industry point of view, and let's say the blue sectors, I suppose those sectors are very focused on their core business. And of course, skills are important, but are there any strategies to try and, I suppose, engage the industry or get them more involved in participating in the programs that you're developing and the calls that you're launching?
Well, in fact, industry, as far as I know it from the Erasmus Plus program, is quite well involved. Even the participation of small and medium-sized enterprises is relatively high in the projects, at least that I see. It's about, I think it's about 20 or even 25%, let's say, in the last call for the blueprint alliances for sectoral cooperation on skills. It could be that in these sector-based projects you have more SMEs than in more horizontal projects, but I'm quite satisfied with industry participation. But it depends on sectors. It depends on member states and regions. For example, I've met an entrepreneur from France, I think close to Poitiers, so northwest France or center, and he said, "Yeah, I would love to cooperate with my local universities, but they are not interested." This is a big mistake, of course, on the side of universities. It's also a mistake on the side of vocational education centers not to cooperate with industry, as we know from member states that have these dual systems. One part is work-based learning, and the other part is then class. So there are differences. That is for sure. But those that excel, no matter vocational training or higher education, are those institutions that have traditionally worked together with industry, and that you can also see in projects. These are the good ones.
Okay. Thanks, Felix. Okay, well, thanks very much, Felix. If there's no more questions, we might move on. Again, if you have any questions, you can direct message Felix in the chat, or you can post questions to everyone, and we'll also have a little bit of time at the end of the next 3 presentations. So I'm going to move on to Andy Kontudakis. Andy's a policy officer in DG MARE, and Andy's going to set the scene on the skills challenges for the blue economy. So Andy, the floor is yours. You're muted, Andy.
I'm muted.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, David. Good morning to everybody. And I will not drag on with presentations and entry speeches. I will pass immediately to the subject at hand and try to convey to you some information about what we have been doing in the past years, basically, and what we have been trying to do on the issue of replying to the skills needs in the blue economy. I hope that you can see me at the same time as my presentation. Is that the case?
We can see you, but you just need to go into presenter mode and you are showing your your view, you need to reverse the screens. I think you're working on 2 screens.
Yes, I'm doing on 2 screens. For some reason, there is a discrepancy here in my, but can you instead, Sarah, because there is something wrong indeed with my sharing, screen sharing, and I cannot control it from here, but could you?
Yeah, we'll share your slides then if that works better.
Yes, because all of a sudden I have a problem with my keyboard, apparently.
That's me sharing there.
Yeah, it should be okay now, Andy. So go ahead, and we'll
It should be okay.
you want to change slide.
Okay, and you can see me, I suppose.
Yeah.
So if we pass to the first slide, I'm going to be very quick in presenting to you what we're talking about when we talk sustainable blue economy. So we have, of course, a set of policy measures through which we have framed our effort on blue skills. Most important of which, and most overarching, if you like, is what we do on the front of the Green Deal for a sustainable, circular, biodiverse, climate neutral future of our economy. We have translated, in fact, this Green Deal into the blue economy through the communication that we have launched a year ago on the sustainable blue economy, where we try and translate whatever is needed in terms of transforming our blue economy sectors along the lines of what is the requisites of the Green Deal. So we would like to have transformations in all the public and private initiatives, in all the policies, and through all the instruments that we apply in the blue economy, and where we want to complement with other important initiatives, such as the ones that call for biodiversity restoration, or for, let's say, decarbonization, and for circularity in the economy, and align those important initiatives with the work that we do under the various sectors of the blue economy. Also, another framework policy for our work, not only on the skills, but in general in the blue economy, is what is the requisites under the UN decade that has started last year. And there, of course, we have a strategic framework under the decade, where there is a stated need to boost knowledge and skills and technology for everybody. This is another, let's say, a requisite that we have to honor. And alongside it, and moving on again back to the European context, we do have also what Felix just presented, my colleague just presented before. We have the context set by the new skills, the European skills agenda, where we call for tackling, if you like, the needs of the new economy in transition, and where we would need to tackle skills gap. We would need to tackle everything that has to do with raising the bar in terms of skills and capabilities for the workforce. Next slide, if you please, so that we put into practice what we have been theorizing up until now. We have a whole host of blue economy sectors, basically, ranging from aquaculture and fisheries to maritime transport and ship repairs and shipbuilding, to offshore oil and gas, and to renewable offshore energy generation, and ancillary other things that span, if you like, the whole spectrum of economy, like tourism, and which have a interpretation into the blue economy as well, when we talk about coastal tourism, for example. or underwater heritage, for example, and then cultural areas related to the blue economy. All of these call for upskilling. All of these call for increasing and strengthening skilling capabilities, reskilling the personnel, giving opportunities to the active labor force to adapt their skills and become part of this transition, and also to attract new talent in these very dynamic sectors of the economy, by boosting also their digital skills, by boosting also the digitalization of these sectors and the greening of these sectors as imposed by the European Green Deal. Because we have a set of needs, you see them on the other part of the screen, like the requisites for providing offshore renewable generation, quadrupling, reducing emissions by applying solutions in the blue economy, and we have plenty to show for, by alleviating pressure on land because we can produce food from the ocean, to adapt and restore our aquatic environment and boost its resilience, to clean the ocean, to strive for plastic reduction, and to be front runners in issues of maritime technology. And there we have a comparative advantage that we need to safeguard, if you like. For all of this, you need, of course, all that we have said before: skilling, training, digitalization, and greening of jobs. And like that, we can move to growth, prosperity, jobs, and the recovery, because we do not need to forget at all times that we are, because of the situation that we have lived in the past couple of years, that we have a need for recovering the European economy and the blue economy at that. As you move to the next slide, Sarah, very quickly, you have again a depiction, if you like. I will not go into very many details of what we mean with transforming the blue economy. You have sectors, the most important of which are depicted here. We talk about decarbonization, which translates for the blue economy mostly into offshore renewable energy, but not only. You have other ocean technologies for the production and the generation of energies. You have the ports that need to play a role as hubs. Then you have the coastal resilience and the biodiversity need that would need adapted skill sets for the employers there to invest in nature-based solutions and to implement them, and to promote sustainable tourism or to protect areas, marine areas. And you have the food system that you need to boost, and you need to boost aquaculture, algae production, bioeconomy, biotechnologies that have to do with pharmaceuticals, food, and whatever have you produced by the ocean landscape, let alone the SMEs, the opportunities that SMEs could get from the circular ideas that we have invested heavily on, and we translate them in the blue economy as well into specific, let's say, actions like the fishing gear loss, and we need to tackle that, which needs a particular skill set there, adaptation of the skill set there. We're talking about recycling of ships, which is another opportunity in the blue economy to transform and translate circularity into business, into a bottom line, a business bottom line, and so much, and so on and so forth. Next slide, again, highlights, alongside the blue skill needs that we have in the sectors that we have already touched upon, the other two aspects that stem from our current efforts. It's not only the Green Deal that we have abundantly, I have abundantly presented to you before, it is also the push for innovation. And when we talk innovation, we're not talking digitalization alone, of course. We're talking about smart techniques in areas like manufacturing. We're talking about biotechnology push. because we need to marine scientists can apply their knowledge into smart, innovative, adaptable, let's say, ideas that can have, as I said before, a concrete, robust business bottom line, and the need to be innovative in those traditional sectors of the blue economy, like, for example, tourism. Tourism services have ceased to be what we used to know before and are much more dependent now on digital technologies, for example. There is a need for adaptation as to that. And then you have big potential to use, again, digital technologies in other sectors like the aquaculture, where it can help this sector be more productive, more efficient, for example. Just to cite two examples of the needs there. In the next slide, though, I will try and recapitulate, if you like, the challenges and the consideration for us when we are called in to shape our policy responses in supporting skills in the blue economy. It is not only to contribute to the European skills agenda, the digital transition and the recovery effort. It is also to consider a policy that goes across the board, across sea basins in our case, to consider the particularities of the outermost regions, because Europe has outermost regions that do not share the same characteristics as our internal European islands, for example. We also have the challenge of being in line and following on the steps of sectorial strategies, like the farm to fork strategy, like the offshore renewable strategy, like the maritime decarbonization strategy, and like biodiversity strategies out there. So we need to reconcile all these aspects through the policy responses that we do. And like that, we need to see into training, we need to see into education, and we need to see into giving incentives for career development to have new talent pouring into the blue economy. We have to see into skilling, reskilling, upskilling, repurposing existing jobs and careers. We need to have, and the professions in the blue economy meet more with new technologies and invest in new technologies. We need to have new industries stemming out of the blue economy. We need to foster innovative sectors to help them boost their potential. But we also need to provide support and to train and to skill traditional ones like the beneficiary sector by giving it a twist towards greening as well. So our support up until now has been translated into a bottom-up support via sector programs under national jurisdictions or partly directly managed by us, sectoral programs like Felix introduced Erasmus+, or like the programs that exist nationally under ESF, the Social Fund, and ancillary through our EMFF in the past, our own funds, through which we give topical support. We promote a classic intervention logic like we always do in the project, but we also instill and test new ideas in every round of calls. So to recapitulate in the next slide of mine, what we are trying to do with the skills and what we will be trying to do in the future with our skills interventions, the projects, for example, that we run under EMFAF and other activities that we have run in the past, is to contribute to carbon neutrality, greening, alleviating pressure from the land, and pushing marine blue bioeconomy. We gain valuable input from the calls. We tackle a multitude of sectors, and I list the most obvious one there, for which you would need blue skills and you would need to develop job responses and enhanced capabilities there. And we are looking into creating coherence among the projects that we run and the policies that we run, and to help with the legacy of these attempts, of these endeavors. There isn't only the bottom-up approach, there isn't only the project approach, there is also the support, and Felix started commenting on that, the support that is there through other investment opportunities and other funding opportunities out there. First and foremost, the most recent one under the Recovery and the Resilience Facility. There, we call particularly for skills investment. There is a whole area that covers that. Also, what has been presented in the past, and I will briefly mention here, is the Sector Skills Alliance and the large-scale partnerships in the blue economy to tackle the skills development needs that we have installed under the Pact for Skills. And there we are in the happy situation that we had in the past as front runners under the Skills Alliance. We had a blueprint project tackling maritime technologies in shipbuilding and offshore renewables. And we have gained some valuable insights from that. We gained a proposal for a skill strategy out of that blueprint. And we would like to bring forward and to bring together lessons learned from this project development, from this project pipeline, to actually inform our next intervention, our next attempt to provide a basis for skills development in the blue economy in our next call, if you like. To finish off with this, I would just like to introduce a last page, a last slide with the feedback that we have got until now from the project that Charlotte in the beginning has presented thoroughly throughout the various call cycles that we have run in the past. So, what are the reasons that we're here today? What have we learned from the projects in the past? We have seen, for example, and I only pick and choose main headline, if you like, ideas for you to ponder on. We have seen that out of the proposals of the project on trainings, 50%, almost half of it, continues to exist even after the end of the project in some sort of form. It is transposed in a training center, in a university, and continues, this training module continues to live on after the end of the project. This is valuable. This is something that we're looking for. We do want the legacy of the project and the sustainability of the project to linger on after the end of its funding and find other solutions for more development. Then we see a very big push, and through the proposals that we get, through the solutions that were implemented for online learning. We have a growth in that. We have scaling up of initial ideas into something more robust, and we are now looking into hybrid approaches by institutions implementing training and education and learning, especially in the blue economy, in sectors in the blue economy. Then we see the creation of transferable modules. So we have material developed under a project that it is embedded in universities, in other courses throughout the sector, according to the networking, let's say, efforts done by the project promoters, which is encouraging because we would actually like to see more of that in the future. What we also see a little bit, let's say, annoying and frustrating for us is that we have the formal recognition barriers in place because of the national schemes, because of the different qualifications, recognition requirements across member states that we would like to see tackled more and more effectively in the future. Then another bemol, if you like, is has to do with the legacy and the business plan of the project. Projects are conceived and implemented most of the times, not all of the times, as a one-off. So we do not have plans to commercialize it further beyond the end of the project. And this is a situation that we need to mend. And finally, we see a very frustrating, if you like, thing that while we have a lot of commonalities among the projects that we have run in the past, and there is a huge spectrum of projects tackling a huge, vast array of blue economy sectors, while we see that there are commonalities in their approach, there are, let's say, commonalities in the sea basin that these projects are run, etc., we have limited cooperation between the projects. We have less efficiency, therefore. And this we would like to mend somehow through better networking. So we would call on project promoters to really network and look out around them on the horizon and the landscape and the environment around them and beyond in other sea basins, maybe, for cross-fertilizing ideas and cross-fertilizing intervention logics and proposing something concrete and robust. So we would like to facilitate that, plan better, have the projects plan better ahead, and plan sustainably ahead. I will stop it at that. I would like to thank you very much, and I am eager to see in continuation the projects present their case studies. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Andy. That's a great overview, and I think you heard Andy say that there's an opportunity here based on lessons learned to inform the next call. So this is the object. One of the objectives of today is to get your views as to how you know, how the future calls be designed to meet the needs of the Blue Skills agenda. So thanks very much, Andy. Is there any, I think we have time for maybe one question, if there's any pressing question. Otherwise, like I said, you can throw them into the chat or directly message Andy in the chat. Okay, well, then if there's no questions, we'll move on. So our next speaker is João Santos. João, the floor is yours. João's from DG Employment as well, and it's related to the Centers of Vocational Excellence, I believe.
Thank you, David, and good morning to everyone. I will try in the next few minutes give you an overview of a funding mechanism that we have for projects in the field of skills, and in particular relating to the vocational education and training sector. I'll try to put the presentation on right now. Can you see this?
I think it's just coming up. Just one second. Yep, there we go. Perfect.
Okay, perfect. So this the presentation is concerning a particular grant that we have in the Erasmus Plus for the Centers of Vocational Excellence. This is not particular to the maritime sector. This is a call which is unlike what you might be familiar with in the blueprints. We do not predetermine what other sectors that we are going to finance. It can be maritime, and in fact we already have a project somehow in the maritime field in Blue Careers, but I mean we assess the projects on the intrinsic value, so it depends very much on how the application is done, the quality of the partnerships and so on, but each one is assessed by its own merits and not because it is of one sector or another. So, and this initiative, I think, should be you know, seen in the wider context of the work we are doing on skills. My colleague Felix already gave you an overview of the immense amount of work going on under the European Skills Agenda. But I think, you know, just for you to understand the wider context, it's very important to see this initiative on the Centers of Vocational Excellence also in the frame of what we are doing on the European education area, which goes beyond the vocational education and training sectors. So really looking at the comprehensive view from early childhood care to universities and continuous upskilling and reskilling of adults. So this initiative is one particular initiative in this wider context. And of course, when we're talking about vocational education and training, and my colleague Felix once again already mentioned it, the Osnabrück Declaration and the Council recommendation on VET give a wider context of the work we are doing to modernize vocational education and training in Europe and prepare it to provide people with the skills for the digital and the green transition. So this is a big picture, if you want, within which you should see this initiative. Now, what is the initiative all about? The initiative is about creating skills ecosystems in which we are bringing not only companies and the education and training sector to work on it, but really trying to bring together all those partners that have a role in creating skills ecosystems. And skills ecosystems, I said, it can be in whatever sector, we don't predetermine it. And the idea is that if we only act on the education and training sector, if we try to, improve the quality, invest in teachers and trainers and so on, but if our focus is limited to the education and training sector, we will not be able to create skills ecosystems, because for them to be created, we have to bring companies on board, we have to bring chambers, professional associations, public employment services, because all the people that, for example, are in unemployment, if we understand the skills they have, if we understand what are the opportunities in different sectors in the future, we can better fine-tune the kind of training that we have to give to them in order to make them available for these job opportunities out there. So the idea is that really with this initiative, it's not, although of course the vocational education and training system is at the core of what we want to modernize, but it cannot work in isolation. The whole idea is to bring these various partners that have a say in creating these skills ecosystems. Then of course, at the end of the day, we always have to have the individual at the core of what we are doing, because we can have an excellent education and training system, we can have all the job opportunities out there, but if the individuals don't understand those opportunities, if they don't have the skills to take advantage of it, we are not going to be successful in our efforts. So this is basically, I could go on for days on this, but this is just to give an overall idea of what we want. Now, if I were to, sort of describe the initiative in a nutshell, I would say that the overall goal we want is to create a vocational education and training system that is innovative, that is responsive to what are labor market developments, and is capable of very rapidly adapting skills provision to what are these opportunities and challenges out there in the various sectors. Now, how do we go forward on the initiative? I usually like to describe it in this slogan that international company has, which is think global and act local. Think global in the sense that if we want to develop, if we want to be innovative in what we are doing locally, we have to be attentive to what is happening out there, cooperate with people that have already invented the wheel, and try to learn from them and work with them and try to improve the systems we have at the local level. But of course, skills at the end of the day are provided at a very local level, and usually, especially in the vocational education and training field, maybe not so much in higher education, always looking at what are the economic and social needs in a very local context. So the idea is that we bring together partners from all over the world, not only in Europe. You'll see an example we have of the Centers of Vocational Excellence. So it is a program, of course, the main focus is on the European Union, but we also want to integrate partners from other countries of the world to the extent they can help us in improving the vocational system in Europe. So what are the kind of partners we are looking for in this project? It's not only VET institutions, and for those that might not be very familiar with VET, just very quickly, VET stands for Vocational Education and Training. Sometimes people confuse this with VET, veterinaries or veterans of war, whatever. It's a specific sector of vocational education and training, usually typically at upper secondary level, and it's young people usually between the ages of 15 and 19 that go to this kind of training. But everything which has to do with upskilling and reskilling, VET centers also have a very important role to play. I'm talking about adults, of course. But we want to bring these vocational centers into play. We want universities, in particular University of Applied Sciences, companies, chambers, and there has to be a mix of these partners in each of the projects we fund. And how much funding do we have? We have quite a lot. I was looking at the amounts that DG MARE has put available for the projects that you have been involved with. We will have 400 million euros to support 100 networks of centers of vocational excellence. And as I said, each network comprises a whole lot of partners. So we're really talking about, having thousands of entities involved in developing these skills ecosystems throughout Europe. And we are not only providing funding through Erasmus+, but also building evidence. There are studies we are conducting to help the partners better understand how skills ecosystems can be developed, how to scan the environment to identify the most relevant partners to work on these projects, and so on. So it's both financial and technical expertise that we are trying to provide to support this initiative. Now, what do we want? What are the key elements, if you want, that have to be present in the projects that we are willing to fund? First of all, it is not just about providing skills for the sake of modernizing the vocational education and training system. There has to be a strategic alignment between what is the modernization effort in the VET system and what are the strategic objectives in a particular region. So if it's a coastal region, it might be that fisheries is one of the most important strategic objective of that region. It might be that, if it is in the area, it might be something related to tourism. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters for us is really that there is a strategic alignment between what the vocational system is trying to provide in terms of skills and what is the wider policy priorities or smart specialization strategies, innovation strategies in a particular region. So this alignment has to be present. The second one is that the education system is not working on its own. It's not just looking at its own belly button and seeing what do I have to do to be better. It requires this idea of partnerships, and not just partnerships because of this particular project. It's that the education institutions and the companies and the various social partners at a regional level understand that skills and the provision of quality skills is not only a problem or a challenge, I would say, of the education and training system. It's a collective problem. It's impossible to expect that companies can have people with the skills that they need if they just let the education system do it by themselves, because the developments that are happening are so fast and happening so quickly that defining skills needs for the future is a collective responsibility, and it can only work if there's a real partnership going on between the real economy and the education and training system. And the third element that we will be looking for in these projects is to what extent are the projects looking at a wide variety of activities. It's not just a matter of providing a diploma after a certain number of years of study or months of study, whatever. That is, of course, important because it's a formal recognition that the person went through some skills. But it's really looking at a much wider context. So looking at how, for example, we can support the learners with entrepreneurial skills and attitudes, for example, incubators, but much more than that. It is looking at how, for example, the education and training system can collaborate with companies for applied research. I'm not talking about very sophisticated research that can get funded by Horizon Europe or whatever, talking about practical oriented research, that a company has a particular problem, knows how to develop a new product or service or whatever, but doesn't know how to do it, and can work with the education system in order to provide responses for those needs. So it's really an integration of activities, and I'll give you a short overview of what kind of activities we are talking about. So these are the three strategic elements that the project needs to incorporate in a very clear way if you want to be funded by the 400 million euros that I told you we have available in the next few years. So what we looked into is what are the key activities that are usually dealt with by the education and training system when we see vocational excellence. And we looked at the activities that are out there. It's not that all the centers have all these activities, but we see some of these activities present when we're looking at vocational excellence. And we've clustered these activities under three big pillars, if you want. The first one I call teaching and training. And there you'll see the kind of activities which, looking at skills in a lifelong learning continuum. So not only initial qualification, certification for the young people, but also upskilling and reskilling for the adults, coming up with innovative curricula. And I saw that some of the projects that you've been involved with has been working precisely on this, looking at innovative teaching and learning methodologies. And in the projects that we fund, we need to see of these 10 activities that I've listed there, that at least 3 of them are part of the objectives of the project. So in the first cluster of teaching and learning, at least 3 activities that I've listed here have to be present. You can even come up with other activities, but at least 3 of these have to be present. Then in the second cluster of activities is cooperation and partnership. So this is really bringing the partners in the education and training fields together with the society in general, with companies and with public employment services, so those partners I mentioned before. And here we're looking at, innovation hubs, working on applied research, creating new knowledge, having business incubators for entrepreneurial initiatives that the learners might have. So these are just some of the activities that, once again, of these 9 activities, we require the project have at least 3 of these if you want to be funded. And the last set of activities are under the cluster of governance and funding. So this is really looking at the sustainability of the projects that were funded. We fund projects for 4 years, but you need to, in the project, also show how you will do beyond the funding that we give. So the funding is really to start something, to start an initiative, but then you've got to see what will be the balance of funding from private sources, public sources, individual sources as well. You've got to think of how the project will have an afterlife after the 4 years of funding we provide, but not only looking at this, looking at, how can we bring the social partners together? What will be the global governance system of the skills ecosystems that you will be creating? So these are the kind of activities. Now, this slide is just to sum up what are the main elements of the project we are looking for. So we've just published the second call under Erasmus program. The project applications can be submitted until the 7th of September. So that's the deadline. If you want to apply for this, you have until the 7th of September to do so. As I said, we have 400 million euros for this year. We intend to fund 12 projects. We have 48 million euros to do so. So each project has 4 million euros of a grant. So it's not a loan, it's a grant that we give to the projects, and they need to have a project duration of 4 years. The kind of partnerships that we are looking for is, first of all, to introduce this European dimension and this thing. Remember, I told you, think global, act local. We require that at least 4 Erasmus program countries participate. You can have countries from outside Europe as well, if they have a specific expertise that you like to develop in Europe, but we require a minimum of 4 countries. And in each country, it's not sufficient that we only have a vet provider or university, which I also welcome, but we also require industry representatives. Of course, the more the merrier, but you've got to make sure that it's not just a matter of bringing a lot of partners, that in fact each one contributes with something unique to the success of the project. So of the 4 countries, we require at least in each of them, at least 1 education and training provider and 1 industry representative as well. It can be more, but these are the minimum requirements. Just to give you an idea of one of the coves that we are already funding, it's a cove led by a Norwegian vet provider, but has partners from many countries in Europe. It's called Bridges. If you want, you can then go and have a look at it, but it is in the finfish industry in particular. It's looking at innovative vet provision, it's looking at future skill needs, and then it's also developing a competence framework for the finfish industry. This is just an example. We have other projects that we are currently funding on offshore energy production. There's quite a lot that you can on the water industry as well, led by the Netherlands. So you've got quite a few projects that are already developing, and as I said, we will not judge your application by the sector, but it is of the quality of what you are proposing. If you want more information on what I've just said, you will get these slides. I've provided it to our colleagues organizing this event. You can get more information on, the Centers of Vocational Excellence, the Erasmus program. If you have particular questions, you can address them to our colleagues in the executive agency dealing with this call. You've got there the link also for applying for the call. And if you want to find partners, we also have quite a few mechanisms for you to try to find partners. I've listed them there. You can then have a look at it. It's all hyperlinked, so you can go and present yourselves and say what kind of partners you are looking for, and then get these partners to work with you to apply for the call. So this is basically what I wanted to share with you. If there's any questions that you'd like to put forward, I'm happy to try to answer. That's it, David.
Thank you so much, Al. That was very interesting. I quite like the quadruple or triple helix approach and the kind of the holistic approach in the call. And I think that's interesting even for other Blue Skills calls, I think, in terms of partnerships. So that's quite interesting. Thank you. I mean, in the interest of time, I'm going to suggest we move on. But if you have any questions for João, please throw them in the chat or direct message him in the chat if you want to keep it private. But thank you so much for setting the scene there. Oh, wait, I see one question there. But like I said, maybe we'll take it in. João, you'll see the questions in the chat. And if you don't mind replying in the chat, that would be fantastic.
Sure. There's no gender dimension. Well, okay, I'll answer.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so we're going to just move swiftly on in the interest of time. So now we're moving on to session 3, which is about knowledge sharing and learning. And we've invited some projects to present based on a very structured template of 4 slides in about 5 minutes, just to give us a taste of their reflections and experiences to try and stimulate the discussion later. So I'm going to go straight to Sea of Experience.
Nikos Vendikos.
Sorry, Nikos, I was just checking your name.
Okay.
So, Nikos, you're very welcome. I know you've got a lecture to go to, so.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. David, I'm notorious of losing the time, so please give me a ping.
We'll set the tone. Okay.
Okay. Let me share my presentations with which I cannot see. Why? Hang on a minute. Whiteboard screen. Let me put the screen on. Files. Okay, let me put the screen on. Can you see my presentation?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I will put it also. Now it's on presenter mode. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. So, I would like to, first of all, to thank the organizers of this very interesting workshop for the invitation. I'm here to very briefly present what we have been doing and what we will be doing in the context of the Sea of Experience project. Sea of Experience stands for Establishment of Eastern Mediterranean Regional Network, pooling, sharing, development of innovative face-to-face and digital training, mentoring tools for the maritime sector. So as you can see, we are more or less covering the eastern part of the Mediterranean. So the consortium comprises 6 members, 3 from Greece and 3 from Cyprus. The coordinator is us, the National Technical University of Athens. From Greece, we also have BAPSI and Evalion. Whereas from Cyprus, on the consortium, we have the University of Cyprus, we have CMMI, Cyprus Maritime and Marine and Maritime Institute, and CCCI, the Cyprus Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have entered the last year for the project, and also here you can see the overall budget and the contribution of EU. So now, the main achievement. I will not go through the various parts of establishing the network, etc., but mainly I want to be practical. So we are developing, and we have actually developed a sharing pooling electronic platform on which what we are doing is we are putting various, let's say, tools. In the context of Sea of Experience, we have like 2 major pillars. We have the conventional pillar and the digital one. the conventional pillar face-to-face mentoring and training tools. So we are having workshops, we are having summer schools and competitions. And the very interesting part is the digital mentoring and training tool, on which we have digital competitions. We have 360 videos for the familiarization and training and mentoring of our interested parties and mentees, and the development of a VR video. So on the right-hand side, you can see a part of the function of this platform, which is the e-mentoring sessions. So it has a complete e-mentoring system. We have developed a complete e-mentoring system on the platform in order to be able to go ahead with mentoring, not only with a conventional way, but also on a very structured and a very interesting digital way. And this proved very, very, very useful, as we can all understand, during the pandemic and during the couple years. Now, the main achievements. As I said, we are trying to develop networks. We are trying to put other countries in the game, in the sense that we are talking also with non-European countries like Egypt, Jordan, etc., in order to cover this East Mediterranean basin. But for this presentation, I would like to focus on the competitions. We have a lot of people on these competitions. We already had a summer school with more than 50 participants. We are having mentoring sessions, and we also have what we call become an expert for a day. So already we had 28 beneficiaries going and visiting people and learning from their experience. And the very interesting thing is we also already have a full-time job offer to one of these participants. And of course, as I said, we have the digital part in the sense, apart from the mentoring sessions, in the sense of the 360s and virtual reality videos. You can see at the bottom, you can see a 360 video from the welding the welding site, and you can see also that there are various clickable points where the student or the new professional can go to specific details and learn things. We also, on the right-hand side at the bottom, we also have another 360 video for the main engine of the ship. And the upper part of the slide is covered by a screenshot from our virtual reality video. We have with the goggles, the student from our university, for example, or a new professional can go in. They can really have, the experience of visiting the main engine room of a ship without being there. Our project covers mainly 4 pillars of the blue industry: shipbuilding and ship repair, maritime transport, port operations, and the cruise industry. Let me go on. Okay. Main challenges.
I'll give you a 2-minute warning, maybe, if that's okay.
Okay. I have 2 more slides. Okay. So main challenges: resistance to new technologies, to attract experts for face-to-face storytelling, because storytelling has a nodal position to our project, and attracting mentors and conducting actually the mentoring sessions. It was more difficult than we anticipated. We wanted to develop easy and simple to use digital tools, and this is very, very important, because as you understand, people are also, professionals that do not want to be involved and for the maritime transport field with very complicated tools for this kind of activities. We want to explain the purpose and scope of the activities and highlight the unique added value for each individual expert mentor, and digitalize the mentor competence test to facilitate the mandatory assessment for potential mentors. Main challenges that we had also, all these, they are related, as we understand, with the pandemic, because the project actually, its life cycle is through the COVID-19 period. You can see that conducting face-to-face events, as you understand, was nearly impossible. The filming of the 360 videos and everything that we needed for the development of the VR videos, it was also very, very difficult. And what we did is actually more or less at some point we had either online or we adopted hybrid events with limited face-to-face participation. So closing, we wanted to promote, of course, and going in digital, this is even more easy, I guess, promoting gender equality and equal opportunities against discrimination. Digital skills are very, very important also for training, for mentoring, and for the familiarization, because this is a very important process in the maritime field for the various, for example, for the crew members. So upskilling and reskilling digital skills was very, very important. And we promote a culture of lifelong learning. And of course, enhancing soft skills. This is very important. Promote teamwork through competitions and train troubleshooting skills through problem-solving exercises and through the various, e-mentoring sessions. I think, David, that this is all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nikos. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm just, again, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and I'd encourage you, I think Nikos's contact details at the bottom of his email of his presentation, or you can contact him. We'll provide his presentation afterwards. The next presentation is MarEnet, and I believe, is it Daniel? Daniel, are you presenting?
It's Kais, it's me.
Oh, Kais, okay, great.
Hello.
Very welcome. 5 to 6 minutes max, please, if you can, Kais.
Sure. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank you for offering us the opportunity to present the MarEnet project main results, achievements, and our thoughts on the project development. The project, so you know, has just finished last year, at the end of last year, 31st of October. So I will go ahead and give you this brief flash presentation of 5 minutes. Let me. So what is the project about? The project is basically about strengthening the skills of the blue economy workers and entrepreneurs. The name of the project is Atlantic Maritime Ecosystem Network, MarEnet. So our main outcome would be to create the network so we can keep working on improving the resilience and the sustainability of blue economy sectors in our area, which is basically the Atlantic basin, the Atlantic facade of the European Union. The coordinator of this project is Campus Omar at the University of Vigo, where I'm based, and the consortium was composed of 8 partners, including us, in 3 countries. We had 2 partners in Ireland, the Marine Institute, represented by the Irish Maritime Development Office, and the Munster Technological University, formerly the Cork Institute of Technology. One university in France, the University of La Rochelle, and these 5 institutions in Spain. Us, the coordinators, the University of Vigo, the Port of Vigo, which is one of the main ports in Spain, the representatives, a sectorial representative of the shipbuilding industry, which is Aclunaga, a sectorial representative of the fishing industry, which is Cepesca, and a consultancy, an SME specialized in blue economy and blue growth, which had already been working with us at the University of Vigo and the Port of Vigo especially. It had a duration of 2 years, from November of 2019 until October of 2022, with the budget that you see there. The total budget was over 800,000 euros, and the contribution of the European Union nearly 700,000 euros. So why did we want to do this project? Basically, it's to help blue growth in this part of the European maritime front in a more sustainable and resilient way to face the challenges that the EU blue economy will endure in the near future. And how are we going to do that, or how did we do that? By trying and bridge the gap between the training providers and the industry. And to bridge this gap, this bridge is built on several pillars. which the main pillar is a network that we wanted to create, the main outcome of the project, which is what we call the Atlantic Maritime Knowledge Center network. And this is a network composed of training providers, industry representatives, policy makers, and all stakeholders that want to become involved in improving these conditions. And more pillars that support this bridge were some specific outcomes of the project that were based mostly on providing digital infrastructures to support the actions that this network did during the project and will continue doing after the project is finished. And also these tools will be informed by what is the situation that we are involved in. So basically making a diagnostic of the situation of what are the needs that the industry detects that they are not getting workers sufficiently skilled on, and conveying that information to us so we can design specific training actions to address these needs and keep on the lifelong learning and upskilling and reskilling of these workers. We developed a set of digital tools to support these activities, design specific training actions that we developed during the project. And also we wanted to promote entrepreneurship. So also self-work was also addressed during the project. And we did this in Spain, France, and Ireland. And for the future, we are trying to expand our scope, and we invited for the next actions that we are planning, Portuguese institutions, and also we are widening the scope to other basins like the Eastern Mediterranean. So which were our three main achievements? Well, basically, the digital tools which we developed, which include, I have some screenshots to make it quick in the website that you can see here in MarEnet.org or mooc.marenet.org. This is the main website, which has access to the courses database, the jobs tool, all access through a JIS viewer. We also developed a B2B tool to promote trusted collaborations in a controlled environment. We also developed this massive open online course that you can see here on the bottom screenshot, which has access to the digital version of the courses we developed. And we also provided training during the course. We developed 7 courses that ranged from 11 to 60 hours, 5 seminars that were, some of them were in person, some of them were online. The courses were mostly in person. There were one course that was only online, and other courses had a hybrid version. And we provided this training to 116 students. And also we did the entrepreneurship program, which included 15 participants, which received mentorship from 5 specialists that provided training in specific topics and provided advice on how to put forward and make their business ideas a reality. They had several phases, which were with competition phases in between, and they trimmed all these participants to 3 winners that received personalized support by the mentors in how to achieve funding and raise funding to make their business ideas a reality. Sorry.
Sorry to cut in, but just maybe one more minute if you can.
1 minute, okay. So all this is continued through the Atlantic Maritime Knowledge Center. All these activities will be continued. Just highlighting that 30% of participants in the courses received a job promotion or obtained a job after 3 or 4 months after finishing the course. 80% of the participants were very satisfied and consider a good investment their time in these courses. And there was a strong partnership and active involvement of companies that collaborate in the course, which I think it was really, really interesting. Main challenges. Situation of the COVID prevented engagement from companies at the beginning. Keep in mind that the project started with the COVID pandemic onset. So we had to change methodology to remote techniques and focusing on representatives and large companies. It was mentioned before, but official certification processes are lengthy and different among institutions and countries, and that was a big challenge. We try to overcome that by increasing the visibility of MarEnet and making it recognized as a quality seal and be recognized by sectorial representatives and professional associations. And also creating a network beyond national borders is tricky. A formal recognition of this network. We registered the brand in Europe, but making a foundation or association across borders was really not possible at this stage. But we are associated between us. So the main three priorities to address the skill gaps for the future are promote engagement of all relevant stakeholders. It was brought up before that we have to work on this front. We need to periodically monitor the environment and diagnose the needs of the industry and make a quick response to the detecting needs. And also brought forward before, we have to promote lifelong learning, increase the offers, incorporate the businesses to enable this lifelong learning among their workers, and also promote this mindset among workers and entrepreneurs. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Sorry to rush you.
No problem.
So thank you very much. The next speaker up is, I believe, Martina, presenting on the ASSESS project.
Yes, good morning.
I might just say, Martina, if it's possible, maybe you can just focus more on the achievements and the challenges, which is the key focus of what we're trying to get out of the presentations going forward, please.
Absolutely, definitely. I share immediately my slides. Can you please confirm that you can see them?
Yes, you just need to go into present. Perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. So our project ASSESS was emerged from a specific need from industry. This is the first element that I would like to highlight. The project closed in 2019, so it passed a little bit of time, and hopefully, well, for us, it was a good luck to finish before the COVID pandemic. We organized the 3 training paths, and the 3 main achievements that I would like to bring here are the first one, of course, the 3 courses that we have been able to fully perform in the 2 years of the project. One course was the first and the second course, so the advanced master and the upskilling program were dedicated to professionals, to young professionals. The third one was dedicated to teachers of high schools. The first 2 came directly from the need from industry, so from the maritime industry. One big company was a partner of the project, that is Lloyd's Register of Shipping. Other 2 big companies were then supporting the project, even though not direct partners. The second main achievement I would like to highlight, since the project closed in 2019, is that as a follow-up of the project, we have been able to launch in 2021 2 self-funded summer schools based on the most appreciated lectures of the master program. And we are now going to launch the 2nd edition of the summer schools for 2022. This is very much important for us, since the project ASSESS for us was the starting point that should enable us to launch such type of initiatives in a self-funded way. Third point, as I said at the beginning, in reality, we have been able to answer an industrial specific needs and to use an initial public fund to develop and test training prototypes. Main challenges, for sure, during the project, reaching the target audience was not as easy as we expected. Second point, building credibility on first editions of training courses, specifically for those training courses that are quite technical and also held at a higher level. Third point, design financial sustainability beyond the project. So also the 2 summer schools that we launched last year and that we're going to launch this year again, the financial sustainability of such initiatives for us, that we are not a training provider directly, we are a cluster, a technology cluster, are not so immediate. So they are challenges, but up to now it seems we are able to overcome them. Third point, 3 main priorities to address skills gap. For us, for the maritime sector, consider that we are mainly related to traditional jobs in the maritime sector, so linked to shipbuilding and boat building and the maritime transport. First point, the switch to digital tools, so in general, digitalization for mature workers. It seems not so hard for young workers, for young professionals, but for mature ones, it seems quite more hard. Talent attraction towards traditional jobs. Now we know that the sea economy is quite a wide environment. There are a lot of jobs, but traditional jobs risk to be somehow not so interesting, not so catchy from the eyes of young people. Third point, support the education and training system in updating training courses according to future jobs. And when I mention future jobs, I intend the jobs that probably we do not know now, but that we will know in the future. That's it. I hope I've been fast enough.
Martina, thank you so much. Thank you. That's great. Thanks for setting the scene. And like I said, everyone can have a look at your website after. Thanks so much. Just to mention, there is in the chat, so we've given you a link to a Slido where we're also asking for the wider group's opinions on a few questions related to the presentation. So please feel free to join the Slido when you get a chance, either through your phone or through a browser. Okay, so we'll move on. So the next presentation is on BAPSI project, and I think it's Raffaele. Raffaele, you have the floor. 5 to 6 minutes max, please. Thank you. We just need to go into presenter mode.
Okay, I can present like this. Sorry, I can't put it in presentation mode, it seems. Okay, good morning, everybody. I will be, of course, very brief. We try to accommodate everything in 5 slides. The first slide is about what the BAPSI project, which stands for Blue Academy for Professionals of the Seafood Industry, would like to do, which is to promote the dialogue between the industrial sector of fishery and the sector of education academia in order to address the necessity of professionals to be trained and keep consistently with the needs of the industry. You see on the right side the 3 flags, the geographic scope of the project target the main Mediterranean countries and Atlantic in the case of Portugal when it comes to seafood, both in terms of production, consumption, and I would say also employees. So we're talking about really crucial sectors from the economic point of view. The coordinator is Assuitica Italia, which I represent, which is the Italian National Association for Seafood Producers, and there are other 8 partners covering basically coming from the academia, from university, from public research center, and from also other association linked to the entrepreneurial, let's say, environment. Which are the main achievements? As I said, I put this more in terms of a reflection. It would be boring just to list, but probably gives you the idea of what we did. We actually organized 11 webinars delivered through the Blue Academy, which is, let's say, the main output of this project, let's say the tool around which all the rest rotates. I put also the link. You can see what kind of webinars have been delivered, and I'm very happy to say that now these webinars are open, in the sense that they were initially for let's say the target of the project. Now we decided to open to shift it into self-paced webinars, courses. So this is a very good, I think, step in terms of sustainability. And then we also promoted some practical experience by visiting seafood enterprises. The second point is linked to what I've just said. So we try to ensure the sustainability of the methodology, the tools we have produced. I would like really to stress this because, as it was said also from, during our discussion, sometimes we keep reinventing the wheel. We'd really like to see BAPSI tools to be reused in the framework of other projects. For example, there is the platform which is available. We would be happy to to share in the framework with other projects as well as other tools and that will be produced, like the last point that you see, which are high quality communication products like info stories, video, comic. Let's say it's not pretentious to say high quality, but I put it because actually the idea would be to use local TV to disseminate, let's say, to educate all kind of stakeholders, from operators, students, postgraduate students, also high, medium school students, also elementary school students. As said from as the colleague said, of course, it's very easy to guess which was the main challenge. Was the COVID. We really had to show a great level of adaptive management, because we had to change all the structure of the project. But this is not also to us. I think we all have been working in a very extraordinary situation. And then I would like to step into something that we take as lessons learned. We welcome very much the discussion earlier on about Erasmus+. We would like to apply, building on the lessons, many lessons that we have learned. For example, the language, which is an issue in the Mediterranean region. The platform facilitation, we keep on producing projects rotating around the multimedia tools, but we have to facilitate them much better. At least this is our feeling. You cannot just tell, okay, you tell people there is the platform, everything is there, go take, and it doesn't work like this. So we really have to be focusing more on active facilitation. And then to overcome the SMEs distrust. I found out myself, actually I didn't know how difficult it is to convince SMEs to host other people, because there is a fundamental distrust about foreigners. So this is something that maybe may sound trivial, but it's not when you get down to the implementation phase. We are proud of many things. Of course, it can be a bit banal, or a way to oversimplify that. We benefit the operators and students through generation, from elementary school to postgraduate student. In terms of priority, another issue that I think is key in our discussion, we found out that these are the topics that we would like to approach in a very systematic way if we have the chance to, or let's say, produce, implement another capacity building project like BAPSI. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raffaele. Thanks, and thanks for keeping the time. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to go straight on to Lucia Fraga, who's presenting on the MATES project. And again, Lucia, 5 minutes max, please. Maybe you can stop sharing there.
Thank you. I started sharing. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I will go right to present the MATES project. As it has been said today before, the MATES project is one of the blueprint projects of the Skills Agenda for Europe. It was the first wave of blueprint projects which are addressing the creation of skills strategy for particular sectors. In our case, we are addressing the maritime technology sectors, in particular shipbuilding and the offshore renewable energy sector. And the goal during these 4 years, we are ending the project this year, has been to create such a strategy with the contribution of industry, training providers, also the research part. And we have been grouping 17 partners in 8 European countries, but we went beyond the partnership through a network of experts with more than 200 experts that could contribute to the process to develop it in a participative way. So I will just present very briefly that the idea has been to analyze the needs, the skills gaps create in present, but also in the future, create some lines of action and then validate them through 11 pilot case studies that were bringing to specific context the lines of action proposed in the baseline strategy. Then we have made a critical review so we can translate all the lessons learned into recommendations for the main stakeholders. But being one single project, it finally has grouped these 11 pilot experience, which were like 11 small-scale projects launching the skills strategy to create online training materials, simulate training spaces in the vet training centers, also create training programs for both sectors, and attract talent by developing activities which we have classified as blended transversal learning. So if we go to the three main outcomes, as you are requiring to the presentations, we can say that we have issued a maritime technologies skills strategy. You can link to the first executive report. It contains the project in a nutshell and the 32 recommendations to the main stakeholder groups. We are now finalizing the long-term action plan and sustainability that will be presented soon in the final conference of the project that is taking place in 1 week in Brussels, but also online. We have transferred to the marine training platform all the trainings for these two sectors that have been identified in the skills intelligence activities. It's about more than 900 trainings in both sectors. And we have been transferring all these results, activity, and proposals for action in the future to the large-scale partnerships acting in these two sectors under the Pact for Skills. One of these partnerships has been launched by the MATES consortium that joined the most relevant stakeholders in the offshore renewable energies to promote this new instrument that has been presented on the beginning of the day by Felix Ron. And we are also in link with the partnership launching the offshore renewable, the shipbuilding partnership. So if we want to go rapidly, I don't go through, well, I had some impact figures here about more results, but this is something that can be reviewed in the presentation if you are interested. We were requested to identify 3 main challenges and considering them not from the point of view of the project, but from the point of view of this type of project. What could we say about the main challenges and some insights? Well, we are addressing skills needs, but this is constantly evolving and the rig is accelerating each time more and more. So we consider that we need to feed this type of skills ecosystems in which the different participants meet, industry, academia, research, and also work quite a lot in these transversal skills. Felix called them life skills in his presentation. Those that may make the difference when you have a very solid technical capacity. These transversal skills are making the difference into getting a better job or evolving better in your job. And they are of increasing importance. And also the adaptation to remote learning. This has been something that we noticed since the beginning of the project, but with COVID, it accelerated quite a lot. And we have still a lot to learn about how to mix blended learning, how to better profit the online, and because it has good things, but also bad things. And related to the skills ecosystems and all the work we are developing these days about need to join together different type of stakeholders, there is a urgent need to recognize the effort of cooperation among them for these skills intelligence activities, for training providing, because it takes a lot of efforts. They have different rhythms for work, different targets, and at the end of the day, they are not evaluated for contributing together in getting a better capacity building process. If you are a researcher, you are evaluated for producing for producing papers. If you are a trainer, you are evaluated by the trainings you are having for yourself, or by the students that have finalized that, but not by the number of placements normally, or by the number of industries that are contributing to align your curricula with your training curricula with their needs. And if you are working in the industry, also the final reward of getting students is something that happens a lot of years after having invested in getting them interested in your activity. So there is a lot to do in these recognition schemes. And finally, I think it's quite challenging to get the expected impact in these type of projects, because even blueprint projects, which are long projects compared to the rest of projects we are used to, because they are 4-year projects. But when you are requested to get official recognition of new trainings, this is a very long process that you only can start during the project. You can build your training offer in terms that it may be transferred and recognized, but the process itself takes a lot of time, and it's very difficult when you start talking with the community, the training community. The first thing they say, we cannot change programs. We have plenty of contents programs, and it's something that we are not willing to do. You have to try to make complementary activities, training, shifting the way that the training is provided, but not giving new programs is something complicated in every country you approach.
Lucy, I'm sorry, we're kind of running out of time here.
Just the final note, the long-term sustainability is very challenging because it also has processes that takes more time than the project life, because you cannot start from the very beginning. Normally you have to have some minimum results to start to work on sustainability. And that's all from my side.
Thanks, Lucia. Sorry to interrupt. There'll be ample time after the coffee break to discuss further between the projects. I think, like I said, that's the main focus after the coffee break. Maybe, Lucia, if you don't mind, stop sharing your screen. And
yes, I am trying to.
We're running a little bit late, but I think it's useful because I'm sure some of the commission people might be leaving after the break. So maybe I'll put it back to the floor. Is there any comments or reflections from the coherence panel or the commission services in relation to some of the presentations, or any questions for the speakers? No questions? Like I said, it was quite intensive, and I'm sorry to put the pressure on the speakers, but it was to kind of set the scene and stimulate the thinking around the challenges, the achievements, the methods being used, and what we can learn from past projects, leading into kind of a brainstorming after the coffee break in relation to what's working well, what could we learn, and what could be useful in future calls and future projects. So, like I said, is there any questions from the group here before we go to coffee? No, I don't see any hands up. Or okay, so what we will do then is we'll break, and when we come back, like I said, the focus really is on further sharing, and that's going to be an opportunity for everyone to give their own views and opinions, and we'll try and put some structure on it, and we're going to have some plenary discussions, and then we're going to have some breakout discussions. So please take a refreshment break, and please we will start at Sarah, you have a...
Yeah, just to say, we have some questions for everybody on Slido. There's a link to the questions in the chat. So if everyone wants to have a look at those during the coffee break, it'd be great.
Yeah, so we will come back thanks, Sarah. We'll come back at, I'm working on Irish time, so we'll come back at 12:15 sharp. And like I said, after the break, it'd be great if everyone can come back, and we'll really focus on an open discussion and some brainstorming. Charlotte, I see your hands up as well.
Yes, just to say that for the next session was intended to EMFF coordinators, but if some other coordinators, for example, Skillsea or the Blue Skills or other coordinators or coherence panel would like to stay, obviously they're welcome to stay to the next session in case they want to hear the networking and bring some insights and views there. So it remains open, the next session, for whoever is interested.
Thanks, Charlotte. Yeah, I think the more perspectives, the more rich the discussions will be. So thank you. Okay, well then let's break, and we'll come back in 25 minutes, and we'll do a nice engaging participatory session. Okay, so see you shortly. Thank you, and thanks to all the presenters, and apologies for rushing you, but as you know, we're working under pressure. So thank you.